Morning. Is it still morning? Good morning and welcome to our second signature luncheon of the 2025 year. And you all are going to be very excited because I will tell you what is one thing you all hear around the community when we're talking about the growth. What's the biggest complaint? What do you say, Mayor Wheaton? Do you hear it? Traffic, there you go. So we decided that this was the perfect opportunity to bring everyone together to inform and update everyone about the intersection of transportation and growth. This theme came directly from conversations, like I said, from business owners and community leaders who are both have shared concerns, and we thought we'd bring this together. Our goal today is to share timely updates and information that help inform and connect you to the bigger picture behind all these orange barrels around town, as well as the detour signs. A huge thank you to Rogers Group for being our presenting sponsor and for stepping up to help make this event possible. And so with that, I'd like to invite John Niebel up to the stage. John is one of our chamber board members, as well as the vice president and general manager of Rogers Group. So come on up, John.
Good morning. It's our pleasure to host and sponsor this event. I think it's important, to get the community up to date on what the present state of projects and future projects are within the community. Transportation, it's such a vital part of what we do as a society. The earliest known roads go back over 4,000 years for purpose-built roads back in the Nile and Mesopotamia region. So it's been, and prior to that, using the paths and rivers and oceans and that to transport us around to connect us as people. I often argue, we're the original connectivity industry. Before there was phone, there was internet, the mail. People connected by traveling, and transportation infrastructure and infrastructure in general is part of what makes society as a modern civilization. So it's vitally important even in this day of internet connectivity. You get on an app and order Uber Eats. Well, how's it get there? Well, somebody drives on a road to get there. People still use the rail system to deliver mass goods to markets. We use the oceans and the rivers and streams and that to transport our goods around. We also vacation, take a lot of cruises and things like that. Those are all part of the transportation industry, airplanes and everything. So it's a vital part of what we do as a society, as a nation, and so it's a vital importance to us. So, and just a little bit about what we do. A lot of y'all probably know what we do as a company, but we're in the mining industry, specifically construction aggregates. Been in business a little over 117 years now. We are the largest family-owned company of what we do in the United States, founded by our founder, Ralph Rogers, back in Bloomington, Indiana. And then over the years, he migrated into 13 states, including Tennessee. Been involved in a number of big projects in the state of Tennessee and the nation. Most notably here locally, the Clinton Engineering Works over in what's now Oak Ridge. They provide a lot of the stone and aggregate and construction service over there to build, the infrastructure to build the Manhattan Project and a number of other things across the United States. So, with that, we'll welcome, enjoy today's speakers, and have a good day. Good day.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Okay, so bear with me because I'm getting a little fancy up here. You guys know I'm a paper person for most of you that are here, so I got upgraded a little bit and our nice little sign here that the town center has gotten. So, and speaking of that, thank you to Catherine Molina too for helping us organize this, who's over the town center. Thank you, John, again, and Rogers Group for being such an incredible sponsor. Again, we could not do these events without sponsors like them and partners like them. So many of you know the Chamber for events like this, as well as our benefits. But one thing that you may not know, and we hope that you do, is we're also proud to be the home of the Highlands Economic Partnership. This partnership is a regional collaboration that focuses on economic development, not only for Putnam County, but also White, Jackson, and Overton counties as well. We focus on business growth, workforce development, and strategic investments. And we all know that transportation is a connective tissue between all of these, right? So transportation is about more than just roads, just like John just talked about. It's about connection and access. It's about getting employees to work, it's about getting goods to the market, and it's about getting families to each other. We're thrilled to be here today to hear from our local leaders as well as our state leaders to talk about the critical work that's going on in our region related to transportation. And so with that, let's go ahead and buckle up, and you can play on the theme. I know many of our team members, I'm the girl mom of the group, but they have boys, and you'll see many of their toys here, hopefully helping with our theme today. So with that, we'll buckle up and ask Mayor Randy Porter to come up and give us some updates from the county. Hank, you got the clicker?
Yep.
Perfect.
It's great to see everyone out today. Thank you for coming, and thanks again to Rogers Group. They're a great asset for us here in Putnam County. I know they're doing a big project for us down on Tennessee Avenue. Had a lot of people asking, what's all the dirt moving on Tennessee Avenue on the right across from the new fairgrounds? And that's the new school bus garage and county maintenance facility that they're doing the streets and utilities and all the dirt work for that. So we're very thankful for Rogers Group. I want to talk a little bit about streets and roads and from a county perspective, and I know you're going to hear it from Mayor Wheaton from a city's perspective, and then for TDOT from a state perspective. So each one of us have a little different perspective when it comes to transportations and roads inside of our municipalities. So one of the big questions I get all the time, and I know the other mayors do too, is the difference between city street, county, state, and federal. Anything inside a municipality such as Cookeville, Allgood, Monterey, or Baxter is a city street, maybe, that is taken care of by that municipality. Out in the county, the rural roads, most of the rural roads outside of the cities are county roads. And then there's the state roads maintained by TDOT, and of course the federal by the interstate, but still under TDOT. The issue that we have with the streets is most of our major thoroughfares are not city or county streets. They're state routes, which are covered by TDOT. Some of those that you think about are Jefferson Avenue and Will Avenue and Washington Avenue, and then those streets carry out into the county also with Highway 56, Highway 70, Dotson Branch Road, Hillham Road, Clark Range Highway, Gainsborough Grade. So you get most of our major thoroughfares are maintained by TDOT and not by the city or the county, and that causes confusion with a lot of our citizens, because if they're driving down South Jefferson or they're driving out Hillham Road or whatever street you're on, all they're concerned about is the shape of that road. How much traffic is there on that road? Is there potholes? Is there needed improvements? So I know I get a lot of calls for the streets that are state roads inside the city or out in the county that have to push those on to TDOT. So today, hopefully, we'll talk about some of these streets and everyone understand that just because that street's inside the city limits of Cookeville or Monterey, Baxter, Allgood, or out in the county doesn't mean that it's a city or a county maintained road. Let me first, and I don't think Randy Jones, our road supervisor, did he make it today? I don't think so. His wife's been sick, and I think he's with her. I want to make sure that I recognize our other county elected officials that are here today. If you're a county elected official, would you stand, please, so I don't miss you? I saw Freddie Nelson back here, Wayne Neighbors, our county clerk, Kathy Dunn, our county commissioner. Anybody else? They do a great job, and we appreciate them. Thank you for being here today. So out in the county, the way state law is set up, all the roads outside in a county are maintained by the road supervisor, who is an elected official. That is Mr. Randy Jones here in Putnam County. And we're very fortunate inside Putnam County, I think, compared to most other counties across the state, especially the smaller ones. Most all of our roads in Putnam County are paved. There are very few that are tarred and chipped or maybe still gravel. You may have a few that come off the side of the mountain down in the western end of the county or the very far eastern, but thanks to the county commission and to the road supervisors over the past several years, most of our roads are paved and in pretty good shape. One thing that's made that possible is Mr. Jones starting his own paving crew. No offense to Rogers Group or Vulcan or any of those, but they were getting so many projects going that it was hard for them on our bids to be able to come and pave our little small county roads. And so Randy decided that it would be easier to start his own paving crew, and that has made a huge difference. Still get our asphalt from the plants at Rogers Group or Vulcan, and depending on the bid, but he has his own paving crew that is out and paving starting in the spring all the way up through the fall, and not having to wait on contractors to come in that are so busy with other projects. And then when you start thinking about the projects that we do with new retail, new manufacturing, companies coming in, most all those projects are inside one of the cities. We don't see many of those out in the county, and the big reason for that is sewer system. So most of those big projects need sewer, water, gas, electric, and all those kind of utilities. And so the city of Cookeville can't go outside the city with their sewer, so we see most of those big projects happening inside one of the cities. So when it comes to transportation out in the county, most of those projects we aren't affected by that, even though we are a part of that when it comes to incentives or anything that we give those projects coming in. We try to do everything in Putnam County, as you well know, as a team effort. Looking at transportation after I came into office in 2014, meeting with the cities and our planners and the chamber and everyone, we created the Transportation Committee in 2018, and we really took a deep dive into the streets and roads of transportation in Putnam County, including all the cities. We developed a list of projects that we thought over the next several years were going to need to be done in the county, and we created a top 10 list that then we sent to TDOT through our RPO of those projects that we felt like that were of the greatest need in the county. And so I thought I'd go through with y'all and show y'all those top 10 projects, and then we'll talk about what's maybe coming in the future. So as you well know, probably the number one issue I get the most questions about is widening the interstate going up Monterey Mountain and add that third lane for trucks. It's become a bigger and bigger issue. When we did a survey, we did about 1,300 people that answered the survey on this project that we were doing with the top 10 list, and this was the number one project chosen by all those 1,300 people. It is on TDOT's list, and I won't get into Danny's presentation, but I think construction may have been pushed out to like 2031 or something, but that is on TDOT's list of one of the projects that needs to happen, as is the widening of the interstate, probably from Baxter all the way up to the top of the mountain. As you know, and I won't get into the cities too much, but between Baxter and the end of the Cookeville exits, a lot of traffic anymore coming through on Highway I-40. Nothing, I don't think that the people that planned the interstate back years ago could probably ever have projected that we'd see as many cars traveling on the interstate as we see today. Another project that was in the top 10 list is down at Baxter, is renovating that intersection. We got the new Portobello plant there that's created a lot more traffic. We got the truck stop and all those new businesses. That is already a TDOT project. It's already been funded, and they're in the engineering phase now, I think, of working on that project to rework that interstate and add a turn lane, extra lane under the interstate, and replace the interstate bridge there going across Highway 56. Widening of Willa, South Willa, down Burgess Falls Road, and that came about on this list because of the building of the new Parkview School down on Lee Seminary Road. Increased traffic on Burgess Falls. If you drive that road very much, you know that a lot of new houses have been built down that area, and then with all the school traffic coming in, and of course with the new Target and Home Depot that's going to be there next to the interstate, it's going to increase the traffic also. That was in our top 10 list. One that's probably been on the list for many years, James, it probably goes prior to me and probably even back into your years as city planner is the widening of Highway 70. And that's one thing that we did. We got a TDOT grant a couple years ago, and they actually studied the widening of Highway 70 all the way from 56 out to the interstate to 290. Very expensive project to do, but at some point, I think all of us feel like that's going to happen. If you travel 70 very much, whether it be inside the city or it be going to Baxter, the traffic count that's on that street has picked up dramatically. So that's one of our top 10 projects that we submitted also. Lane additions, I won't get into this much on South Jefferson Avenue. I think that's already a city project with TDOT that y'all are working on. I know they're working on East 10th Street. City's done a great job with Rogers Group out on East 10th to get that project almost completed. One of the problems that we're having was out at the Allgood overpass and intersection there with traffic backing up onto Highway 111 off of the exit there at Allgood, and the traffic that's right around the Allgood interchange. And I know for Allgood, that's one of their top projects that they're looking at right now. Another one was the widening of Highway 136, which is Hillham Road or North Washington. Once you get out into the county, of course, city widened or state widened that out to the high school back several years ago. But if you drive out on Hillham Road very much, it has a tremendous amount of traffic with people that come from Overton County and Jackson County and Putnam County out in the northern end of the county that come into Cookeville on a day-to-day basis to work, bring their kids to school, whatever it might be. And the bad thing about Highway 136 is there's no shoulders on the side of the road. It drops off into the ditch, the drainage ditches on the side. So that's one of the projects that we'd love to see, at least get shoulders put onto that road and a little bit of widening with all that traffic. Same thing for Highway 135, which is Dotson Branch Road out in the county. They just replaced the bridge down at the bottom of the hill on what we call Terry Hill here recently. But it falls in that same category of it not being wide enough and there not being any shoulders. I think the city's looking at an annexation maybe out into that area in the near future also. Then a north and south connector. We have a lot of folks also that come Gainsborough grade trying to get over to Highway 70, Jackson Street into Cookeville. And this was also part of the study that we did with TDOT on an engineering grant a couple years ago, is looking at what would be the best alternative, either to look at adding another lane or widening County Farm Road, which is handling all that traffic now coming into Highway 70, or to extend Tennessee Avenue over all the way to Gainsborough grade. The engineering study that was done said that extending Tennessee Avenue over to Gainsborough grade would be the best option. That came with a big price tag though. I think back then it was about 34 million, and I'm sure that has gone up now. So I think that we're looking at to TDOT somewhere in the near future to add that as a project to look, and hopefully the county or the city or both of us could look with working with them to try to make that one happen, because our County Farm Road is it's becoming heavily traveled. The road counts on it's unbelievable right now. And then the final one that most everybody's heard for years and years and years and years, that's the Northern Connector. There's Corridor J, I believe it was called. It had a lot of names, but that was probably the most popular that was known by everyone. It was making a new road that was going to run from Highway 111 all the way around Gainsborough grade to connect back into what's Tennessee Avenue now. It's before Tennessee Avenue was actually there. That got that money, about 56 million, I believe it was taken out of Putnam County by the direction of some folks. I didn't agree with it, but that was before my time as mayor. But it wound up going to Overton County and Clay County, and that built the new road that goes from Livingston up to Salina. At some point, something's got to have to alleviate some of the traffic. It would have been nice to have been able to do that. Problem we're having now is if you start looking at that connector road going around, there's been so many homes built in that area that it's making it very difficult to pick out a path to be able to do that. So that was the top 10 list that we came up with, working together with all the cities, the chamber, our planners and everyone. We have started meeting again now, the Transportation Committee has, to create a new top 10 list because of several of our projects that we had in that list have either been funded or in the process of being funded with TDOT. So we're meeting again. We're waiting on TDOT to come out with their last list of projects that were funded or in the process, and we've got that now. So we'll be bringing the committee together again here in the near future and create that new top 10 list. And if you wonder what RPO stands for, Rural Planning Organization. I don't know where that came up with many years ago, but we have to submit all of our projects through what's called this RPO, and then they submit it to TDOT. I have to say, we have a great working relationship with TDOT, and I think the cities will adhere to that. Danny, I've known him for many years, and all the folks. Bo Hoskins is here today with TDOT. Bo's our local guy that we work with, and not because he's sitting here, but there's not anybody any better to work with than Bo Hoskins. If we need something when it comes to TDOT, I can pick up the phone and call Bo night or day, and he's always there. But we return that. If TDOT needs something for us, we do that, and that's what it's all about. And we're known here in Putnam County for working together, and I think that's what makes our county a great county, is all of us working together. So that's my presentation. I'm going to introduce Mayor Lauren Wheaton of Cookeville, and she's going to come up and talk about the city projects.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's see if I can get this. Yep. All right. So first, let me apologize to everyone. Apparently, according to some Facebook comments, we have decided to pave every single road in Cookeville all at the same time, and has caused a little bit of a traffic headache, so I apologize for that. We're not paving every single road at the exact same time, but we did have the opportunity to do some extra paving and to get some stuff done, and that has caused a little bit of a traffic delay in some places, so I apologize, but end result, as you can see in some places, is really great. We've paved those roads that needed it, and we're going to continue doing it, so I'll continue to apologize until my term is done. So I'm just going to talk to y'all today about some current projects we've got going on and some future projects. Like Mayor Porter said, we get together, we sit down, and we have a long running list of roads that need improvement, sidewalks that we want to see, new roads that might need to be developed, and it is a constantly evolving list as well as we go along and see what happens with the growth in Cookeville. And so this is some of the stuff that we're doing right now. This list may change as things go on, but as of right now, these are some of the current projects we have going on, and I'm sure y'all are probably familiar with a good amount of them. So starting off, we've got our 10th Street Phase 2, which I'll be honest, I'm pretty impressed with that. And y'all should be too, because it is ahead of schedule. And are we still under budget? Yeah. Yes, two things you probably would never hear in the construction transportation world, but we are under budget, ahead of schedule, and that is pretty amazing. I do want to pause for a second, recognize some of my council members here. I've got Councilman Baji, Councilman Gilbert, Vice Mayor Eldridge, as well as our city employees. Again, none of this is done by ourselves. This is all a team effort, so thank y'all for being here and thank y'all for being a part of it. So 10th Street, Phase 2 we've got going on here. It's from Old Kentucky Road to Fisk Road. We already did Phase 1. That I think was a great improvement. We had the opportunity to do some cost sharing with that with the new food city development that came in, so that kind of jump-started it, and then we saw the need to continue it. I always tell people that 10th Street was an F when it came to transportation rating. That was not for fantastic. That was for failing. That road had a huge traffic issue, and so this was a need that really needed to happen, and it's been going pretty smoothly right now. Completion date for November 2025. Like I said, right there, currently 5 months ahead of schedule. I mean, that is pretty impressive right there. And that contract amount of $7,600,000. So again, I think it's going really well. Thank you again for your patience with working on that, but when it's done, it's going to be pretty impressive. Got that going there. Next one we have going on is the Stevens Street. That is the Phase 1. That's being done by Rogers Group. Again, this is from Hughes to Willow Avenue, hopefully completed by April of 2026. Anyone who drove on Stevens Street before we started this, pretty bad road, right? Needed to be fixed, needed some repair. So we're going to be widening that because honestly, that's one of those side roads that now people are using a lot as a connector road. And so we wanted to improve that, make that flow a little bit better. So we're widening it. Should be done by April of 2026. And you see that amount right, oh, the amount was there. But again, that I know has been kind of a headache. We've had to shut it down just because there's really not a lot of room to drive around while we're doing the construction. But again, going to be a really nice improvement and a really good connector when we're done with that. Parking. Anyone have any complaints about parking? None? Wow. All right, never mind. We don't need this one here. No, parking is an issue. We obviously know that we are trying to address. Not one simple solution to it, but we've gotten together with the city and local businesses, the hospital as well, and try to find some ways to solve some of that parking. We don't even have the HCA, the property that we bought on this list here, but one of the parking lots that we're doing, this is on North Cedar Avenue, 3rd Street, right there. This is going to add, how many is this one going to add? Is this 62? No. Yeah, 62 to 64 parking spots, pretty big addition there. This is one of the projects we're doing on our own, which really helps obviously with budget, with financial things, being able to do stuff in-house. I have to give our Public Works Department a lot of credit because a lot of this stuff we don't have to contract out. We're grateful for the contractors that we do have, but when we can do it in-house, it definitely helps to save on the cost there. This should be done pretty soon here, 2025, so we're looking forward to that. We're paving it tomorrow. Don't make me a liar. I just announced it, so now it's going to have to happen. All right, we're paving it tomorrow. Can't park on it yet, but paving it tomorrow here. Oh, I just saw Eric. Sorry, Councilman Walker. Yep, back there. Sorry, he's here as well. Recognize him. Thank you. Got everybody here. Sidewalks. This is also something that we kind of get a lot of complaints about. People say that walkability around Cookeville is not the easiest, and so that's something that we're also addressing with some of the sidewalk projects we have going on here. That will go to that. This is a really corridor that I feel like is used a lot. We have Fall Fun Fest when we have events on the square, and so this is really a visible area of Cookeville. And so this is some of the, we've done some of the sidewalks there. We changed the parking, repaved that, but I think when we're done with this, it's going to be a really nice way looking down into Cookeville from the square, and again, an area that's pretty heavily utilized by pedestrians when we have events and stuff like that on the square. Salem Church Road, connection to England Drive. This is something we were talking about my first term. Still waiting to get it done here, but just a little small connector here that can actually make a pretty big impact. This should be something that's pretty easy to do. We're going to be utilizing our Public Works Department to do that, and hopefully this is going to be done in 2025. But see, that's just a little $50,000. I say little $50,000 that. In the scope of transportation projects, this is a pretty small price tag for this one. But again, can make a really big impact. So we're looking at, we look at just little things like this that we know could really help with the flow of traffic. Doesn't have to be this on this big, huge scale here. South Jefferson, TDOT. That is something that has been working on, more than 20 years, I think is how long that project's been going on. Much needed project. Have actually, if anyone's been driving down there lately, I get to go to Prescott a lot to take my kids there. A lot of work going on, a lot of improvements. You're really seeing things happen down there. We are optimistic about when that's going to be completed, but obviously can't plan for everything. So some things happen and hiccups happen. So again, thank you for your patience with that. But something we're seeing a lot of movement on, and again, much needed project that is really going to benefit the city. Future projects. These are ones we've talked about that we budgeted for. We're working on, the engineering phases. So 10th Street 3rd phase. We've seen how much of an improvement this 10th Street Phase 1 and Phase 2 has been. And so the next obvious discussion is taking it all the way to Washington. Do we want to see that happen? How can we make it happen? And so we've actually budgeted monies for this discussion of Phase 3, talking about looking at the engineering, taking it from Fisk to Washington. So the design time alone will be 18 months. And then once we get that, information, you've got the 1 to 2 years for the acquisition, for the right-of-way. And then also a start date of 2 to 3 years. So this is not one that will be started during my term. but I would be excited to see it happen. But a lot of moving parts, a lot of work with this one to see how we can make it happen. And again, least amount of impact for the community in terms of construction wise, but a lot of impact when it comes to transportation. Willow Avenue, dedicated right-hand turn lane. So we kind of have some big things coming in on Willow Avenue, if anyone doesn't know, Target, Home Depot. But we know that with those projects, we're gonna have some traffic issues. And so I will give TDOT a lot of credit. We've had some sit-down meetings with them more than once and presented to them the issues that the city has, because a lot of those roads, like Mayor Porter said, those are state highways. We can't do anything with those. We've got to work with TDOT. And they've actually come to Cookeville with their team, and we've got to sit down with them and take a look at how can we make improvements? How can we help buy in? What can we do to help get this ready so that when TDOT comes in, it's easy for them? That's something that I will give the city a lot of credit for. We get everything ready, everything primed. So sometimes when you're driving down those roads and you're wondering why we're tearing them up, a lot of times it's because we're moving water and sewer lines, moving them out of the way so they're not underneath the road anymore. So if we do have to dig them up, either A, we've replaced them, they're new, so you don't have to dig it up right after we've done paved with them, or we've moved them out of the way so if something does come up, we've got easier access to that. So like Jefferson, for instance, I know we've been digging that up and doing a lot of work there. That's because there are plans to pave it in the future. We're just going ahead and getting everything ready so when they come in and do it, we're not having to go, oh wait, hold on, we've got to dig up a water line there. But this is a turn lane that we want to see happening on Willow going to Interstate Drive. We know that backs up pretty bad there. People have sent us pictures. We appreciate that. And this is something we discussed with TDOT, and they've actually said, yeah, that we see a need for it. And so we're hopeful that that's a project that we're going to get going with them. And again, help out with all the growth that's happening kind of south of the interstate there. Interstate Drive sidewalks, again, sidewalks, a need that we see, and one that we're working on. We're just in the bidding phases right now. This is going to go from Willow to Jefferson. Again, an area that's pretty heavily utilized when you talk about car traffic, but foot traffic as well. We see a lot of people walking around there, and we need some sidewalks. And so that's a project that we're looking at taking on, putting some more walkability in that area, just because there's been a lot of growth on Interstate Drive as well. East Broad Street sidewalks, in the bidding phase right there. This is going to be from Old Kentucky to Greystone. Just an area that, again, not any sidewalks. You're seeing connection to neighborhoods, from neighborhoods to major roads. So putting that in there, making it more friendly for our pedestrians. And that's an ask. We actually had some people say, hey, we'd like to see that happen. And if we can, we will try to make it happen. I can't guarantee that for everything, but we're always looking for recommendations. What do you see in possible areas that might need things like that? Church Avenue parking lot, we got another parking lot happening, and this is in partnership with TTU. Again, we did the 3rd and Cedar. That one's in partnership with the hospital. This is in partnership with TTU, so we really utilize those partners that we have to make these things happen. This will be started in the fall of 2025. Again, a project that we're going to be doing, so we can keep it at a low budget of $180,000. Again, seems like a lot, but in the transportation and project world, not too bad right there. So that's going to be going in. When you talk about that, with the HCA property that we just bought, going to be adding 150-ish parking spaces with green space. The other parking at Cedar, and we did the parking lot that previously was there where the storage units were. We've really focused on adding parking to the downtown west side area. Can continue to work on it, obviously, but I hope people see we really are investing, because I feel like this area is a lot of our local flair, a lot of our local businesses, and we want to support those just as much as we want to support the Home Depots and the Targets coming in. East 1st Street, some sidewalks from Washington to Madison. Again, this is something that construction should start fall of 2025. Public Works is going to be doing this, and hopefully completed by March of 2026. So as y'all can see, sidewalks, big priority that we're taking care of, as well as those big road projects. And so that was all I had for our current and upcoming projects. Again, we've got a list that's constantly evolving. We're taking a look at it, see what we need when that growth happens, areas like that. And I do appreciate, again, everyone's patience, because I know I drive around too. I'm running late to get to a kid to practice or something like that. And sometimes when that road is closed and I don't know about it, get a little frustrated. But again, I know the end goal is going to be something really amazing, something that the city can be really proud of. So thank y'all for your patience with that. And now I will have our TDOT representative come up here. Very excited to have him. This is Mr. Danny Oliver. He is a licensed professional engineer and a registered land surveyor in the state of Tennessee. He's a graduate of the University of Tennessee. I won't hold that against you since, I'm the Mississippi girl here. He's got a BS in civil engineering and an MS in civil engineering. He began his career with TDOT in 2001 in construction, and he continued to work for the department in survey and then project development, where he served as the Director of Project Development for Region 1 from 2013 to 2018. He served several years as an adjunct professor and lecturer with the University of Tennessee Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. And in July of 2023, Danny joined the Region 2 as a Regional Director. Mr. Danny Oliver.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the introduction. I was not expecting the full bio since you didn't get one and Mayor Porter didn't get one either. So
They know us, we're fine.
Yeah. Well, it is afternoon now, so good afternoon. And thanks for inviting us out to talk about the things that we do every day. So our Region 2 leadership, so when we talk about TDOT regions, 80% of our workforce at TDOT is housed in our regions, and we have broken up into 4 regions. So there's Region 1, Far East Tennessee, we're Region 2, and of course there's Region 3, Region 4. Region 3 is Davidson County, and most of the regions have approximately 24 counties, Region 1 and Region 2 do. Region 3, I think, has 26 counties, and then you do the math, and what's left over is in Region 4. Our leadership team, of course, myself as Regional Director, we have reorganized recently, so we have a Director of Pre-Construction and Project Management, both. Michael O'Donnell at the bottom is the Director of Project Management, Rachel Gentry's Pre-Construction, and Director of Operations is Adam Castile. Previously with the department, I held the combination of Rachel and Michael's jobs. Is more like a PM, but also Director of Design and Engineering as well. So things that we do, and pardon me for looking over, I didn't bring my notes up in front of me, but things that's fine, it's fine. They said I used to be an adjunct professor, so I could get really dry and talk about some really rough stuff in engineering, and so this is actually is a little bit more interesting than things I used to teach. But again, we've got 24 counties. In Region 2, just for perspective, we have about 1,000 miles of interstate, 6,700 miles of state route, about 3,700 bridges total that we inspect every 2 years, and some are yearly. So those bridges that I'm talking about are all bridges, all public bridges, not private, but all public bridges, whether it's city, whether it's county, whether it's state. Even federal, we do those. We look after them, as I can say that. And then you can see in the region all the functions that it takes to operate the regional side of the Department of Transportation, from engineering to planning through construction. The largest force there is maintenance, and I think Mayor Porter brought up Bo Hoskins, but Bo is here, and I told him I wouldn't say anything about him, and I wasn't going to bring any attention to him. So I won't talk about Bo anymore unless y'all stump me with a question, then I've got to go back to Bo. But we do appreciate all the Bo does. But you can see there's a lot of things done in the region, and a lot of supporting cast as well. And I'm just going to echo what I've already heard from both mayors, that you can't run a successful transportation system without collaboration and working relationships with all partners, whether that's county, whether that's city. And in my region, or our region, the SPP project, so it's a program now that we have that we can match dollars with counties and cities. The city of Cookeville's actually gotten both of those in the last couple of years, and it's because of their preparation and planning and being organized. So when we meet with the county and we meet with the city, these two are some of the most organized and well prepared. So you should be very proud of them. And it's I won't say a breath of fresh air, but it's been a breath of fresh air. We come in and said, this is our priorities. This is what we're working on. This is what we need help with. So we really appreciate that. And I'm going to skip that slide. And I want to talk about something new to TDOT. So when we talk, and you heard this from the other two presentations, transportation projects are a big part of its funding. And if we could pay for everything, well, we would be doing nearly everything. But those projects are broken up into 3 major phases of development. One of them is the first one is engineering. The second one is right-of-way acquisition. And the third phase is the construction phase. And Bo, we could go farther. I said his name again. I shouldn't even be looking at him. You could go farther and say the maintenance phase, but we don't budget those inside of project cost. And how TDOT used to do business and how a lot of the national DOTs do business across the nation is they fund those in individual phases. And so what happens is you have a project that say, we're starting this project, but we only have the first phase funded of engineering. Well, what about the rest of the money? Well, we'll find it when we get to that point. And what that does is cause for the development of that project to take, like Mayor Wheaton said, a long time when you look at Jefferson. And the national average of that process was around 15 years, and that's a national average. You know anything about averages, you have a positive, you have plus and minus of that. That's the average, and some projects take longer. Well, we're in our second year now of TDOT's 10-year plan, and it came from the Transportation Modernization Act that the legislator, and Senator Bailey's here somewhere, and we appreciate his efforts too in that, decided to give TDOT a $3 billion just infusion of state dollars into their program. That seems like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. Well, we had $30 billion of need, but we wanted to be as transparent as we can be and manage the money as quickly and efficiently as we could. So we went from our previous 3-year window of looking at what can fit into year 1 of next year and worrying about how it's funded later to let's do a fiscally constrained budget for the next 10 years. So we see what we're working on, everybody sees what we're working on, and what we start, we finish, and our goal is 5 years, going from 15 to 5. So that's been a big transition shift for TDOT. So that's what I have up here now is TDOT's 10-year plan. Now, the map, you may look at that map and say, that doesn't look like a lot of projects statewide. Well, the dots and the symbols are certain types of projects, but you notice the hatching across the whole state, which means that's covered by other program projects. And I'll talk about those in just a little bit. But I do have a video, and I'm afraid to press the button. They said it would go backwards, so you go ahead. So this will explain a little bit of the process.
Have you ever wondered how Tennessee's roads and bridges are planned, funded, and built? It's a complex process like a giant game of Tetris, where every piece must fit perfectly together. The Tennessee Department of Transportation reevaluates our 10-year project plan every year, but it's not as simple as just picking and scheduling projects. There's a lot more at play. The scope, the funding, the environmental impact, everything must align. Remember, Tetris. Every project needs to be carefully assessed, considering many factors, including importance to the community and how it fits into the statewide transportation plan. A critical part of this process is looking at things like right-of-way sensitivity, environmental mitigation efforts, and the need for federal approval. All can make, break, or delay a project. Just like a well-run race, each phase needs to be successfully executed to cross the finish line before any shovels dig into the dirt, and those phases may take years. Sometimes a project phase hits a roadblock. For example, we may uncover historic artifacts during the environmental phase, or we must diligently work to help relocate families who live in the project's right-of-way. These are delicate situations that require immense care that could take months, sometimes years, to resolve. Other times, emergencies like a bridge crack or slope failure can suddenly become a top priority. When that happens, TDOT must adjust the 10-year plan and reallocate funds to address the immediate need. On the flip side, a project may be moved up when a local community brings additional dollars to the table or new funding is secured. It's a delicate balancing act, but it's all part of TDOT's commitment to keeping Tennessee's infrastructure connected, safe, and functional. Before the 10-year plan, things weren't always so organized. Projects were often stuck in limbo, awaiting funding, with no clear roadmap to move them forward. Now, thanks to the 10-year plan, TDOT has created a prioritization process that evaluates each project based on safety, cost, need, and deliverability. This process is thoughtful and dynamic. We constantly reevaluate to adapt to new circumstances. This new approach allows TDOT to move projects forward more effectively, ensuring what gets started gets finished. But that's not all. TDOT delivers more than the projects listed in the 10-year plan. You'll find additional planned work posted on our website, ranging from our 3-year pavement, bridge, and safety plans to our funding programs for transit, aviation, rail, and traffic operations and management. These plans provide even more clarity for Tennesseans and the industry, setting expectations for the funded work to come. TDOT is committed to transparency throughout this entire process. By laying out clear expectations and working with communities and stakeholders, we ensure the road to progress is accessible and clear for everyone. TDOT is deliberate in our approach, dedicated to delivering for Tennessee. That's why we're asking you to build with us.
So we did that successfully. And I think she does a great job of explaining that whole process. So I think I can have my seat now. Or you want to talk about some projects? I feel like I could. She did a great job with that. And I will say this, that with my nearly 20 years of time with the department, TDOT, this is the most transparent and organized in our approach that I've ever experienced. It is. Not that we were ever hiding anything, but sometimes it's hard to show people what you're working on and explain it in a good way. And we've put a lot of effort into being able to do that with the 10-year plan and the 3-year plans. So the 3-year plans are our program projects. So bridge replacement program, bridge rehab program, pavement program used to be called the resurfacing program, but pavement program, safety program. You can see all of them over here on the side. So use that QR code, and I think the presentation is going to be available for others if you want it. Get used to seeing these programs, and that's our 3-year plan. We're trying our best to operate inside those windows and mitigate those needs as they come up. Was that T-Rex on there? I don't know why that came up, but it's what it does. So the pre-construction side. So we do have a few projects, and we're going to overlap, and we overlap because we're working together, and our projects are our projects, not my project or TDOT projects, but they're our projects. They're all of our projects. So the first one I want to talk about, and this is pre-construction, this is planning. This is Stair Route 135 on Willow Avenue. We're going to be going from 4 to 5 lanes with a lot of and more of an enhanced, more robust pedestrian facilities and intersection improvements. We met with Tennessee Tech on what's going to work good with their planning and their student movement and how they move across the campus and to keep students from walking out in front of traffic like they just do. And that's when I went to school. And the mayor, I knew that I was going to get a jab. I just knew I was. I'm just glad, and I wasn't glad that Arkansas beat Tennessee, but I was glad it wasn't Ole Miss. I thought, I'll never live that down, because last time we met, Ole Miss I think it's basketball. They beat us in basketball. And you took no time to remind me of that during the meeting. Not once, but twice. And our chief engineer also graduated. He didn't graduate, but he went to Ole Miss, and so he's a Ole Miss lifer and reminds us of that. So anyway, this project is scheduled to go to right-of-way, and it's hard not to talk about sports when you live in this area and you have such good sports too. Right-of-way in fiscal year 25, that's federal fiscal year, which begins in October, really runs from October to October. So late fall this year, we see that we will go to the right-of-way acquisition phase for this project. I-40 interchange at 56. You mentioned this at Baxter. This one's redoing the bridges, adding signals, working at I believe it's First Avenue as well, getting all that coordinated, because it's really tough to navigate that interchange, especially if you want to go if you're coming from Nashville and you want to stop in and go to the truck stop and back, you're going to sit there for a while. And it's just heavy truck traffic, which is a good thing. It's just that we need to be able to accommodate all of that. This will be going to right-of-way in fiscal year 26, and it's going to be probably springtime when we're going to the right-of-way acquisition. Not a ton of right-of-way acquisition on this, but there is some, as most of the work will be done on the interstate, but there will be some done on the state route and side roads. I-40 interchange at State Route 36. This is just interchange improvements. And these projects here are ones I'm talking about that are specific dots on the map. So if you go to our 10-year plan and the map I just showed, that these are those dots. This one is look like we're going to go to preliminary engineering, which is that first phase, the engineering phase, in fiscal year 27. So once we get close to 27, we'll start working on the concepts and have more pictures and ideas about what all the improvements will be. And could traffic patterns enhance at this interchange before then? Yes. So early, we want the data as most current as possible. And one thing I'll head off a question is, how far do we look at traffic? So we look at our traffic when we start a project. We'll actually go out 40 years. That'll be our window. We'll look at a 20 and 40 to see what the projected growth is. And sometimes we get accused of like, well, you designed this project 5 years ago. The traffic's changed now. Sometimes that's the case, but it should be inside our growth model as well. State Route 135, this is Interstate Drive turn lane, and we've talked about this, and we appreciate the work on the front end. Preliminary engineering is going to start on this pretty soon. It'll be this fiscal year. It should be sometime this fall. Also, State Route 24. So I failed to mention earlier, I talked about the TMA and the $3 billion general fund transfer, because TDOT is funded. Does anybody know? I'm not going to do a show of hands. That's my old college professor coming out of me. I want to see a show of hands and pick people to answer questions. How TDOT is funded predominantly is through the fuel tax. And a portion of that goes to the federal government, and then we get that back. It's a big deal for us to get general fund transfers. It comes from the general fund. So that TMA, the $3 billion, was a really big deal of all state dollars. Well, just this last session, the governor's budget also included a $1 billion transfer, again, that helped a lot of our state of good repair projects. And there's a portion of the tax on tires that's also going to be reoccurring dollars for TDOT, for transportation. Because those, as vehicles get better fuel mileage and traffic patterns adapt, our revenue for transportation off the fuel tax has been flat, but costs haven't been flat. We all know that. So that's a big deal for us to have some reoccurring dollars that we can use to plan. A couple things that's going to help just right out of the gate is going to be our spot safety program, and even some rural service patrol. So if you've ever been to some of the bigger cities, you see the help trucks that help. We're also going to have a smaller version of that for our rural interstates as well, and you'll see that. It's not been contracted yet, but it's getting worked on. So State Route 24, bridge over I-40, is one of those from the $1 billion general fund transfer. That's one of those projects as well that we have. Other projects in the Cookeville and Putnam County area. One of the other SPP projects is right up here at the top, which is the State Route 35 intersection with West Jackson Street. That's working through local programs. We've assisted and worked together on that. And I'm not going to call out all these projects, but I just want you to see the different programs that we have here. So safety, bridge replacement, traffic signalization. This is a SIA. This is state industrial access. So when new industry comes in and it's a public roadway, TDOT can assist with those roadways for ingress and egress to that business. And also the I-40 eastbound truck climbing lane from Cookeville to Monterey that somebody mentioned earlier. And it's set up to start engineering in fiscal year 29. I'd love to see it earlier, and I know you would too. And as the presentation showed or the video showed, if things happen to move around, that's a possibility. But it's the Tetris, so if something has to move, that's the same size. So nobody go out there and sabotage another region's project, and you figure out the money game and say, all right, we can move it in, But we'd love to see it earlier. Oh, I don't know. We don't need to talk about that. So again, 2025 pavement projects. This is another thing of our program projects, and you can see we've got ADA curb ramp upgrades going on Willow, State Route 24 US 70 between Cookeville and Monterey. These are underway now, and we've got a section of I-40 that's going to be resurfaced this summer starting in July from about exit 300 to 306. And let me just say this. So anytime we have construction work, and the two mayors alluded to this, those projects sometimes have unknowns. And I have to relate our projects to remodeling projects. That's what we do. We don't have a lot of brand new roads that we're building, but we're remodeling a lot of the roads that we use every day. But we're remodeling them while we're living in them. So it's like you're remodeling the house, but still living in the house. And it takes a little bit longer to move this around and work in this area. So that's part of the challenge. If we didn't have to work around traffic, we would prefer not to. It'd be great, wouldn't it, to work on construction projects with no traffic, but that's just not the reality that we live in. So that's another thing to consider as well. And this is just the upcoming FY26 and 27, just in this area of upcoming pavement projects. And this was also talked about, so I'll end on this fabulous project out here on State Route 136, South Jefferson Avenue. And we're all familiar with it. It's about 2.3 miles of roadway, 2-lane to 5-lane with sidewalks, curbing, and just a full upgrade. We've got a business section, and it gets a little rural at the end. And right now we've got 2 major hurdles to work through. One's a big old box culvert near the end of the project, closer to 111 side, and then getting that interchange ramp worked out with some phasing and things like that. We've got on here, I've got a note that I thought I put it up here about spring to be able to finish. We're working together to see if we can get that opened and done quicker than that. So I know it's a lot of work to do, but I think we've made a lot of good progress lately on some things. And there's challenges. And what you do when you get things done, you just have to back up and say, how can we do this another direction? And realize that we're all in this together, and we do appreciate patience. But I think it's going to be a great product once it's done too. So that's the last project I'm going to talk about. Hopefully I was not too long. I tried to trim it down a little bit. And so I'll end right there, and I think we've got something else on the schedule.
I'm gonna have you stay up here if that's okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Perfect. Okay.
What about the other?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and bring them up. I'm gonna see what is next here. Thank you all for those presentations. Very insightful and good to have those updates. We'll now transition into a Q&A. And again, I have Danny come back up here too. We'll give you some microphones. Make sure to just turn them on. Do I need to actually turn them on? Yes, I do. Test this. Okay, perfect.
Can just pass it around if we need to.
Oh yeah, I guess we can do that too.
Yep.
We'll have this just in case something. Don't drop any mics.
No, or fall off the stage, yeah.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone, also, by the way, Danny, I also am a Prescott mom like Lauren is here. And it has been nice for the school leadership because Lily Kate's had about 6 tardies this year. And if you just write a note that says TDOT,
Get out of it.
they get excused.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not writing. I thought you were asking me to write the note, so we can, like a doctor's note.
It's great. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. But I do want to remind everyone, these questions that we did receive were all submitted by the community prior to this. And we have shared it with them. There will be overlap in some of these questions. It's something that you might have hit on, but we thought it's worth revisiting and maybe diving into deeper. So the first one is submitted from a community member. We continue to see a high number of accidents on I-40 throughout Putnam County, especially between Cookeville and Monterey. Many in our community feel the 3rd lane was needed years ago. Can you provide an update on where that project stands? So you did talk about the process in that and potentially maybe one day having that moved up. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, or I know there was some additional funding that had to be moved out to East Tennessee, so that has also impacted.
There is, and right now the schedule, like we've said, the 10-year plan, and the great thing about that is it's a plan. We don't anticipate moving a lot of things around, but each year we have different challenges and things to work through. But right now where it sits, and once it's in the plan, and I've had to reiterate this with others that's been around the transportation industry for a long time, once it's in our plan, it's funded. And it's in there to be worked on. And we do have the engineering starting in 29. If there's something that happens earlier, we're advocates to push it forward. We're not saying it has to stay in 29, but if the dollars would allow that, we'd like to see it, but right now it's in 29 with construction in 31. The good thing about that project is we're not talking about buying right-of-way for it, really. we're just really doing design. You're on the interstate, you have a lot of right-of-way. I don't anticipate any, but it's just one side of the interstate as well. It's the eastbound side that we're so used to seeing. So I think that's all I can say about it at this point. We're excited that it's on there.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, our next one. This might be for Mayor Porter as well as Danny. The new Tennessee Avenue exit has been a great addition. Is there any discussion or planning around extending Tennessee Avenue to north and northeast side of Cookeville to create a connection to 111?
So that was the Core to J project that we talked about earlier, and of course, City of Cookeville and TDOT and everybody did a great job with Tennessee Avenue. It's going to be a huge addition to our community. It's like you're going to see a lot of growth in there. It's already started. We did the engineering study with TDOT to extend Tennessee Avenue over to what we call Gainsborough grade. That project went through that study and looking for funding for that for the future. Then connecting from Highway 111 all the way around, as we talked about earlier, is difficult now compared to what it was 15 or 20 years ago with all the growth that we've had. But that would be, we lost that money, went to other places, and it's on the drawing board. We talk about it in Transportation Committee a lot to still do that, but that's something that we're going to be looking at and submitting to TDOT at some point to look at doing that again.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to do is keep it on, keep it ready, keep it organized, keep it coming through the RPO, and on the when you say, oh, this is our list of priorities, that is not just one time, but continually keep bringing that up. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, there are growing concerns about speeding along Highway 111 north of the 10th Street exit, particularly near Quinlan Lake Road and Morandi Road. The volume of truck traffic entering and exiting that road is also a concern. Are there any plans in place to address these safety issues? This would be north of the...
I know the area. What I can say about speeding is it's difficult for us to on us non-regulatory agency. I mean, we don't deal with, we have no police force as far as that goes. So TDOT does not, what we can do is design for safety. And, what limit or range do you design for with people speeding and the behavior? We try to design for predictable behaviors, but sometimes the unpredictable behavior, you can't design for that. What we have looked at in this area, though, and I had our I appreciate the questions on the front end. So I had my traffic engineering office tell me some of the history they've had, and we've got some ideas, and that's where it is right now, just on how to get some safe turnaround areas to where it would get where you wouldn't have to cross so many lanes. Maybe you go up and do a J-turn concept or something like that. That would be a little safer for a higher speed, interactive, you want to stop condition coming into higher speed and going the other direction. But yeah, we're not an enforcement agency. That was the word I was looking for, and it was just out of my tongue's reach. I couldn't grab the enforcement piece. We are not TDOT police, and that's just the truth.
You may have gone into this more in depth, but I'm going to ask it because this person's actually in the room who submitted this one. Residents in Northeast Cookeville were pleasantly surprised by how effectively and efficiently the widening of 10th Street between Old Kentucky Road and Fisk Road was handled, particularly the strategy of completing the north side first to maintain 2 lanes of traffic. We are curious about the next phase of widening from Fisk to Washington Avenue. Is there a timeline? Which you did talk a little bit about that. Anything else in depth about that process that you'd like to go into?
I was excited to see that question because they said they were pleasantly pleased, right? I was like, whoa, we got a compliment. That doesn't happen all the time. But yes,
someone
we too.
Who lives in the first phase, I do believe.
And if people knew how important that was to me, because the people who are directly affected by that, the homeowners, the neighborhoods there, when they come tell me they're happy with what's going on, that is the biggest compliment, because they're the ones that are most affected by that at the time. And that makes me know that we're doing a good job and that we're taking care of our neighbors and our community, because that's our job. We don't want to just come in and plow through. We want to make sure that we're working with the community, with the neighborhood. So I was excited to see that. But yes, as y'all saw, we have budgeted dollars to go ahead and start looking at that phase 3. Again, a big project, because we talked about business areas, a lot of businesses through that area with that phase 3. So that's going to be a completely different right-of-way acquisition and engineering concept altogether. But we are starting to look at that to see if we can make it happen. I think when I first came on council, they talked about that area being like $30 million. I'm sure that price has gone up as well. So again, funding, got to find that. but it's definitely something that we're taking a look at, and glad that we've done phase 1 and phase 2, and it's been not too painful.
It's been good. Okay, so we've noticed new cameras this was actually submitted many times. We've noticed new cameras being installed along several county roads and have heard different things about their purpose. Are they primarily for catching speeders, or are they meant to collect license plate data for safety and investigative reasons? Could you clarify their intended use and let us know where these cameras are currently located or plan to be placed?
Well, they're actually to watch you and Lauren as y'all speed around town and try to catch you.
Well, I will say 10th Street too. That's where my other kid is, so.
So I'll try. This is a law enforcement issue. It's not one that falls under me, but those are license plate readers. There's a project with the city and the state that those are being put out, and Danny May can talk to them too. They're looking for, and I'll give you a perfect example. When Trooper Cawthorn got shot on the interstate, once they got that car that was fleeing, that did the shooting, once they got a description of it or a license plate, then they started looking at those license plate readers to follow where that car went to try to apprehend them. So I don't think it has anything to do with speeding. It's just reading those license plates. There's active warrants on those plates, or stolen cars. Somebody's did a crime, a major crime, and they're trying to catch them as they're fleeing. That's the county side of it. I know it's a big project, probably all across the state. They're putting these.
It's all across the state, and there's laws of what type of cameras that can be put on state highways and right of ways, and surveillance is not one of them. We have cameras up in certain areas across the state, and there's really for managing the traffic. It's not for surveillance. And I've signed many permits on these that come through our region, and they're license plate readers, and that's what they're for.
Perfect. Now, what about with the city and the AI cameras and
the AI cameras? Yeah, that is going to be used for traffic flow to see how we can use real-time data to change the traffic flow for our busiest intersections. Again, just seeing how many cars are in line. Is it a truck? Do we have pedestrians that need to cross? And using that data not only to keep up with, to track, just to see how busy that intersection is, but at lunch, at 5 o'clock on a Friday, do we need to change the lighting to see how long those lights stay and the turn lane stay? So that's just for that real-time technology to use, which again, that was something we're really excited about, because a lot of places we found out are not doing it. We are very excited to be kind of a guinea pig and try this out and see if we can utilize it and hopefully get it on most of our major intersections and on Jefferson and Willow, to see if we can utilize a technology that you would think they'd have it out there already for traffic, but they don't. So that's what we're going to be using those for.
Thank you. Okay, so next, with continued retail and commercial expansions near the I-40 and South Willow interchange, are there plans to improve the traffic flow in the corridor, such as signal timing adjustments, additional turning lanes, and exit ramp enhancements?
Again, partnership. When we're putting the Willow Shopping Center in, we had to work with TDOT. They had to be the ones to approve what type of traffic improvements are going to happen there. And so we're so grateful for them to say, we're going to do the improvements on Willow, and we're going to turn around and do the improvements on the streets that we can. But yes, there's going to be extra turn lanes added, signals, and then again, we're putting in the improvements on Green Gate, I always want to call it Green Gable. Yeah, Green Gate Road that's right behind there. We're going to be doing the improvements on that. So together in partnership, you're going to see some really nice improvements there.
That's part of our state partnership program, which is SPP. So and if you hadn't been so organized and well presented, it made a lot of sense, and it fit right into our plan.
Perfect. And I will say, just for all of you in the room, if you could do something for us as with the community and the chamber, when you see people talking about this, remind them to please be patient, that this is part of growth. Maybe if you get some negativity, just say back, guys, this is part of growth and this is going to be great. So be patient over the next couple years, really.
I do also want to say no project is done, I think we can all say this, without extensive research and studies and traffic counts and safety checks. We never go in and just say we're going to fix this road. It is a long, we do our homework. And so any project that you see happening, we've been there working on it for years and planning for it, and then we continue to evolve as things come up. So anytime you see a project like that happening, know that we've really tried our best to do our homework and be prepared and have a very clear path forward.
And we are I'm going to say this too, because we get a lot of commercial business entrance permits that come in, and even on residential side as well. We're advocates for that. We want to see our areas and our towns flourish and people come in and develop good things. Our really goal and behind the permitting piece of it is to make sure it's done safely. We don't want something put in later that's going to be a dangerous intersection or not have enough sight distance where somebody gets hurt. That's really our role in that.
Perfect. Thank you for those comments. Okay, now I promise this was not me. I'm going to look at James over here, James Mills, because he hears me talk about this in meetings sometimes. But the intersection of Highway 111 and South Maple Avenue continues to raise safety concerns with frequent reports of speeding and near misses as well as accidents. Are there specific plans in place to slow traffic or improve the overall safety of this intersection?
This is on our radar. We don't have the final concept done yet, but it is going to be a future safety project there, whether it's a J-turn or a signal or something some type of safety treatment for that intersection in that area.
My oldest is 2 years away from driving, so that whole area. No.
Well, and one thing I've challenged my staff with is if there's something we can do on the immediate side with brightening something up, signing, marking, or anything like that. Our district manager and his guys are out in the field and are fully, we want to know about that. So if there's something we can do, the low-hanging fruit, I've got a future roundabout around Fisk out on, around Hillham. And what we've done in the meantime was really brighten it up with signs and flashers and things like that. So people coming into that area that's got a lot of entrances all over the place, that has helped a little bit. So anything that we can do, or if there's an area you think we need some improvement on, let us know, because that's a big deal to us is maintaining safety on our routes.
Thank you. Okay, so this is one that's up in Monterey. It says many residents and business owners along Commercial Avenue in Monterey have expressed concerns about the volume of truck traffic through the area. Are there any plans being considered to reroute truck traffic or otherwise reduce the impact of the corridor there?
We have been talking to Mayor Garcia on this as well. So there are some options that cities and towns can do, and TDOT can help assist that as well on have to have truck routes. We have to get the freight through there. And there are routes that are designated for that, but we want to make sure that the routes are being followed like they should be.
Absolutely. As we were standing there talking about this with the mayor last week, we got to watch one of the trucks get stuck there on the corridor as we were speaking.
That's an active one with us right
Yes.
now.
Okay, this last one here. The exit 280 interchange in Baxter has seen and will continue to see mass growth as more rooftops and industries are being developed in that area. What is the new timeline for the infrastructure improvements, which you talked about the bridge and that widening under there, related to traffic lights and road widening and the on-off ramp extensions?
Yeah, we'll start the right-of-way in the spring. So the concept, the design is in good shape. We've been working around with being able how we're going to phase that with the interstate, be able to keep traffic moving on the interstate. Where can we build those bridges? So you can't just take a bridge and replace it in its existing condition unless you shut it all down. And that's not an option in that location, to shut the interstate down. So we've worked through that, and it's been pretty iterative to how can we do that and safe transitions, get to the new bridge. And what we do, we build a portion of the new bridge, remove the old bridge, and build the rest of it. And the right-of-way piece of that is starting in, like I said, in the spring.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other closing comments? I know with the City of Cookeville, you all have on the website where people can go in and...
We do. We actually have, yes, and we're actually working to improve it as well. But we have a dashboard that has our current projects, the estimated cost, kind of where they are, and that's on our city website. If you go to cookeville.com, and it's under capital projects, thank you, yeah, and you click on that. And so if you're wondering, what are they doing here, what's going on, you can go click on that. It can give you the information there about the projects that we have.
There's also an area to submit if there is lights.
There's
or other
report a
things
problem, yep. Instead of, putting a comment on Facebook that I might miss, there is a...
She's not bitter.
I probably won't miss it. But if there is, it is probably a lot easier to go to the report a problem link that we have on our webpage. And click there if there's a stoplight out, if there's something, in the road, something like that that's impeding traffic. And then it'll go directly to the person it needs to go to, and hopefully we can get that fixed. So that's another easy way that we have to report a problem.
Perfect, thank you. Any other closing comments?
Transportation Committee is going to be meeting again real soon. We'll be coming up with a new top 10 list. I want to say thank you to Amy and the Chamber for doing these. I mean, you think of all the topics that you've covered in the last couple of years. I think they're very educational, and I just want to say thank you to the Chamber for doing them. And thank you for Danny for coming and being
thank
such a
you.
good partner.
You reminded me of something with your report a problem. We have a website, and it's called T.Fix. And if you see things out there that it seems like it needs to be fixed, that's a really good place. It logs into our system, and you can always find somebody and call them. This is the way it gets logged in as well. It's called T.Fix. It's pretty easy to find online.
Obviously, we came up with it first, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
Model child here. Okay, awesome. Thank you all so much. Before we close, I'd like to recognize a few people who we would not be able to make things like this happen. And thank you, Mayor Porter, because you all tend to be you are the program when we have these. And we just appreciate you always being so transparent, showing these things, because they're not always happy and exciting projects. They're not. Some people get frustrated and other things, but you all obviously have the end goal in mind, and that's to make the community better. So thank you. I want to thank Quality Linen Services for the linens that we have today, and Johnson Nursery for providing these beautiful ferns up here. Grade A Catering for the lunch today. Did everybody think it was good? Yes? Okay, awesome, as always. And once again, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Rogers Group. We would not be able to do things like this without you. So we appreciate you. And thank you all for being here, staying engaged, and being willing to learn and listen. We hope that you leave here informed and also maybe a little bit more patient as you see the growth around the community, knowing that there is process and or in progress on the horizon. So thank you all, and we will see you again at our next event and signature luncheon.